Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today's story is gonna be a dark and twisted one. We'll be talking about the blood-curdling murders of Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker. This case is quite important and has a significant impact on crime investigation in America. Ramirez was a notorious serial killer, rapist, and robber. We'll be discussing the details of how he committed these heinous crimes, the impact of his killings on the community, and ultimately the reason that led to his identification and capture. But before we get started, guys, if you're new to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. So, let's get started. Who was Richard Ramirez? Richard Ramirez, infamously known as the Night Stalker, imparted fear in 1980s Los Angeles. Born on February 29, 1960, El Paso, Texas, he earned his moniker due to his nighttime home assaults, where he would attack unsuspecting victims using various weapons, including knives, guns, and a hammer. Ramirez often subjected his victims to mutilation and sexual assault, leaving satanic symbols at crime scenes. His stage name included Richie to his family, the Walk-In Killer by KNBC, and the Valley Stalker. However, the Night Stalker moniker became synonymous with him. Ramirez's fatal bender began at 24, with 1985 marking a summer of horror in Southern California, where he claimed at least 14 lives and committed 11 sexual assaults before his 26th birthday. Motive of murders. Richard Ramirez came from a troubled family background. His parents married in 1948, with his father having minimal education and working as a laborer. His mother worked in a poorly ventilated boot factory, exposing her to harmful chemicals. This earned her to birth defects in 2 of their 5 children, while Richard, the 5th child, was born without defects. At a young age, Richard suffered traumatic head injuries and epileptic attacks, disrupting his life. His father, Julian, was rude and violently beat his children, leaving a lasting impact on Richard, who required refuge with his mother and sister. They enforced a strict, extensive background, highlighting church presence. Crimes and murders of Richard Ramirez. Here is a timeline of some of the known crimes Richard Ramirez committed. June 28, 1984, Ramirez breaks into the home of Jenny Vincow in Glassick Park and murders her. He also sexually assaults her before leaving the scene. She was 79 years old. March 17, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Vincent Zazzara and his wife Maxine in Arcadia, murders both of them, and sexually assaults Maxine. March 27, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Mary Louise Cannon in Montessori Park and murders her. April 10, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Joyce Lucille Nelson in Monterey Park and murders her. May 14, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Bill Doe in Monterey Park and murders him. May 30, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Carol Kyle in Mission Viejo and murders her. June 27, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Max Neilding and his wife Leela in Glendale and murders both of them. July 2, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Harold Wu in Arcadia and murders him. July 5, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Tsai Lian Yu in Monterey Park and murders her. August 6, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Malvia Keller in Monrovia and murders her. August 8, 1985, Ramirez breaks into the home of Bill Carnes and his girlfriend Inez Erickson in Mission Viejo and shoots Carnes and sexually assaults Erickson. Arrest and conviction. On the evening of August 24, 1985, a group of residents in East Los Angeles recognized Richard Ramirez from a wanted poster and chased him down, holding him until the police arrived. The police had been searching for Ramirez for months, receiving numerous tips and leads. A fingerprint match and eyewitness identifications positively linked him to the crimes. Ramirez was charged with 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. Ultimately found guilty on all counts and sentenced to death in 1989, although he attempted to flee and was recognized due to his dishonorable teeth. Ramirez was caught by a vigilante mob in a scary twist. He married a female obsessive while on death row, but remained shameless for his horrible crimes. He died in 2013 from B-cell lymphoma at the age of 53, never expressing regret for his actions. Evidence and key findings. The evidence of Richard Ramirez used to convict him included eyewitness testimony. Several victims and witnesses positively identified Ramirez as the attacker. Physical evidence. Investigators found fingerprint, shoe prints, and other physical evidence linking Ramirez to the crime scene. DNA evidence. DNA technology was still in its infancy at the time of Ramirez's trial, but scientists were able to link his blood to a sample found at one of the crime scenes. Confessions. Ramirez made several convicting statements to police and jail inmates. Expert testimony. Forensic experts testified about the connection between Ramirez and the crime scenes based on the physical and DNA evidence. All of this evidence was presented at trial and contributed to his eventual conviction. It is important to note that in the United States, the burden of proof in a criminal trial is beyond a reasonable doubt. Legal proceedings. In 1985, residents in East Los Angeles captured Richard Ramirez as he tried to steal a car, leading to his arrest on August 31. His trial began on July 22, 1988, facing 43 charges, including 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. The media-covered trial was marked by Ramirez's bizarre behavior, such as flashing a pentagram on his head. Overwhelming evidence, including a shoe print, fingerprint, stolen items, and eyewitness testimonies, sealed his guilt. On September 20, 1989, he was convicted on all counts and sentenced to death, eventually passing away from natural causes on death row in 2013. Media attention, public response, and impacts. Extensive media coverage to the Night Stalker case, featuring every dreadful detail, pushed Richard Ramirez into the national spotlight. This raises questions about the impact of such coverage on Ramirez and the case as a whole. While some argue that giving unsavory reputation to criminals like him was wrong, others see it as necessary for community awareness. The public's response to the media's portrayal of the case and its influence didn't end with Ramirez's arrest. It had enduring effects on the community and beyond, shaping perceptions and responses. The extent of this impact and its consequences remains a subject of interest and debate. Final thoughts and lessons learned. In the 1980s, Los Angeles was gripped by terror as Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, committed terrible acts of murder and rape. His sway of horror left innocent lives violently ended and families shattered. The scars of his actions still remain. However, there are valuable lessons to be drawn from this dark chapter. The power of community and observance was evident as residents united, shared information, and supported law implementation in their search of justice. Effective monitoring played a critical role in capturing Ramirez, highlighting the importance of supporting law enforcement agencies. Behind every crime story, we must remember the real people with real emotions. Understanding and support for the victims and their families are essential. Let us honor their memory by flying awareness and working to avoid such calamities. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us on this upsetting journey into the heart of darkness. And so, we remember the crime story of Richard Ramirez, a man who became the embodiment of evil in the City of Angels, forever etched in the history of true crime. If you think this video is informative and interesting, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like the video.